What's up, Penn Staters, and thanks for tuning into the Football Letter podcast. This week, we welcome volunteer leaders from our Lehigh Valley chapter. Joe Huxta, class of 1971, Penn State grad from the Smeal College of Business, and Michael Turk, a 1987 Penn State grad, started at the Lehigh Valley campus, finished at Penn State Harrisburg. There are lots of exciting things happening in the Lehigh Valley region. We are going to be talking with Michael and Joe today. We just brought them into the studio. Joe, how are you doing today? Michael, how are you doing? We're so glad to have both of you.
John, doing very well. Thank you very much. Hot and humid, but hey, it's July in Pennsylvania. What else do you expect? First thing I want to say is thank you for inviting the Lehigh Valley chapter to your football podcast. Much appreciated.
Yeah, absolutely. And Michael, how is the summer going for you, sir?
So far, so good. My wife and I just got back from Savannah, and we're going to be ramping up with our picnic this weekend. I just wanted to echo what Joe said. That, we really appreciate you giving us the time and the courtesy to tell, what our alumni chapter is about and how we can benefit the Penn State community here in the Lehigh
Absolutely.
Valley.
This will be fun. Superstar colleague Lauren Wright recommended the chapter, and we're glad to have you on. We're going to be talking all about Penn State and the Lehigh Valley area. So, Joe, how about we start with you? Do you want to give our audience, a little bit of a rundown of the geographic area that the chapter covers and your mission and the things that your chapter is focusing on?
Certainly. Thanks, John. We are located in eastern Pennsylvania. The vast majority of our members reside in the Lehigh, Northampton counties, and the primary largest cities in our service area would be Allentown, Bethlehem, and Easton, and obviously including the surrounding communities. We have over 10,000 Penn State alums in our service area, and over 5,000, actually 3,500 Penn State Alumni Association members. And our mission is basically, we call it the 3 S's: social, service, scholarships. We have 9 board members and a core group of volunteers to help us achieve the mission. We basically work around 3 key committees. One is social events, one is the community service, and the third one is communications. They are our very active committees that basically work to achieve our mission. Briefly, I wanted to turn it over to Mike, if that's okay, just to kind of highlight the social events committee, because Mike is on that committee.
Thank you, Joe. We do have a number of events going on throughout the year, and the events are actually socialized through our newsletter. So I may touch on what the other committees do briefly. One of the things that we really pride ourselves in is the TV tailgates. So we do these for all the away games. We partner with various bars in the area, in the Allentown, Bethlehem, Easton area. And we have a section usually reserved for the members. We get anywhere from 15 to maybe 30 to 40 members, depending on the time of the game and obviously the team that we're playing. So a team like Ohio State would obviously have a much bigger draw than maybe a team such as Villanova, who's on our schedule this year. We also highlight some big events. For example, when the hockey team makes the regionals in Allentown, there's a bar that we partner with, and we have a big draw for that. So we have a big happy hour before that event starts. And the wrestlers were also up at our PP&L Center in Allentown. And of course, we had probably 50 to 60 people for that event earlier this year. We also, there's a local bus company that we partner with, and given the ability to, they're out of Whitehall, we socialize this to our members. They're allowed to get on the bus and take it up to home games, and it's another avenue for a transportation vehicle for our members. One of our big events is in the fall. We usually do an alumni trip. Last year, we did a trip to Longwood Gardens. 2 years ago, we did a trip to New York to see a show at where the Rockettes play. As I mentioned in the beginning, we have a chapter picnic, which we get about 80 members. It's this coming weekend on the 20th of July. We invite all of the alumni, the local members, former members of the Penn State Blue Band, and we also offer a $500 scholarship to the incoming freshman class So those members can possibly get a gift certificate to purchase Penn State paraphernalia at the gift store. So we invite the incoming freshman class and their families. We also have an Iron Pigs game. We do some fundraising. We do some volunteer work at one of the games, and then we invite our alumni out to the local Iron Pigs baseball team here in Allentown. So that's a pretty good caveat of the events that we have going throughout the year for alumni.
So the Lehigh Valley chapter is busy. You have a lot going on. You're doing a lot to keep Penn Staters connected. Maybe a good follow-up point is, how important is it to provide different opportunities for area alumni? Somebody might want to join a chapter watch party. Maybe somebody wants to come out to a hockey game, wants to get involved into a networking event. For Michael or Joe, either one of you, how important is that to provide a variety of events for your local alumni?
Yeah, I think it's critical to get participation and to get engagement with the alums. So you have to have something going on, and everyone's different. So you can't just have one event and that's all you have. You have to spread it around to different ideas. So we always try and do something different. We also have what we call our blue-white social nights. So 4 times a year, we meet at a bar, restaurant, and we'll just socialize, just, meet new alums and network, etc. So we do a lot of that. There are people that like to volunteer. I'll call it community service. I had mentioned we have a committee, the Community Service Committee, and we have people that will engage with us. For instance, we do a Toys for Tots campaign every November and December for the last probably 4 years. We actually partner with at least 6 organizations in the Valley, the Hotel Bethlehem, which is a landmark in Bethlehem. We also partner with the Phantoms hockey team, which is a minor league of the Philadelphia Flyers. We have the Da Vinci Center. We have the campus. So we have, if you want to volunteer, things like Toys for Tots. We partner also with the American Cancer Society. They have what they call Making Strides Against Breast Cancer every year here in the Valley, probably nationwide. And we put a team together. We do fundraising for the American Cancer Society. We do that in October. Last year, there were over 3,000 in attendance from around the community. And we put together a team of about 15 or 16 that walked in the event. We had our own custom shirts made, Nittany Lion shirts, and we raised about $1,800 for that. So that's a couple of the events that we do. We have a blood drive. We had the Bloodmobile at the campus. We sponsored that. Interestingly, the campus was in some kind of a competition, and they won a $10,000 scholarship to the Lehigh Valley campus. So that's an example of the community service aspects of what we do for those people that want to engage and do volunteer type work to help the community in areas of need.
In addition to that, we've also, about once a year, we usually get a pretty keynote speaker in. And this allows alumni who have maybe they're not interested in sports, but they might want to come out and listen to someone. We had Jay Paterno this past year. I believe 2 years ago, we had Matt Millen. And we were able to do some fundraising and scholarships around that. We also occasionally partner both in our with our charitable events and with our football games or basketball games with the Purdue Alumni Association. So about once a year, if there's an away game, we'll do a football game with them, and sometimes we do a basketball game. And we also compete with Notre Dame, Purdue, I think Lehigh, a few of the other alumni at the local food bank. So the more it's based on members and how much money each one raises. So I think we came in first or second place the last 2 years.
We came in first place, Mike, the last 2 years.
Okay. It's been very head-to-head, very competitive with Purdue.
We have a local food company called Aldi. They donated 13,000 pounds of food items, basically canned items. And basically in that competition, the more food that you donate as well as cash, whoever gets the most in those donations kind of becomes the first place amongst the other college alumni. And as we just said, Penn State, Lehigh Valley took the first place the last couple of years. So,
although it was extremely close.
No, that you should feel great about that, and you do, and that's that's rewarding and satisfying. And thank you for what you do for not just for Penn State and the Alumni Association, but for the community as well. It sounds like the Lehigh Valley chapter, similar to other chapters, you're focused on Penn State area alumni, but also on the community itself, if I'm hearing right.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes.
And we try to give a variety of interests to folks. To your earlier question, if you're not interested in sports, there's plenty. As Joe said, there's plenty of volunteer opportunities that may not necessarily involve sports that people can get involved in. So.
The other thing, John, I wanted to mention is to get the word out to the 10,000 alums and the 3,500 association members. It's key to have good communications. And in the last couple of years, we really stepped it up with our communications committee. It's chaired by a woman named Diane McAloon. She is doing great work with us. We had a website that was technically obsolete for years. In the last year, her and her partner working together basically brought us up to speed with our website. It's the website is lvchapterpsaa.org. And if you go out there, anyone that's listening, it's up and new, and it's really well done. And we have electronic newsletter that goes out usually twice a month. We obviously do social media, the Facebook, the Instagram kind of things. And we're working on putting in a LinkedIn site for the chapter. So with the communications and getting the word out to all the alums through different media, et cetera, is making a difference, I think, in participation.
You are tuned into the Football Letter podcast. We are speaking with our volunteer leaders from the Lehigh Valley chapter. Joe Huxta, 1971 Penn State grad, talking about the strides the chapter has made with its communication. We've got the chapter's webpage up on the screen. The website is also scrolling along the banner, lvchapterpsaa.org. Michael Turk, 1987 Penn State grad, talking about the work that the chapter is doing in the community and the social events and the networking and bringing Penn Staters together. You both have deep ties to Penn State. And so in that respect, how meaningful is this volunteer work that you're doing? Because it sounds like you're bringing together, your passion for Penn State, your inspiration for wanting to give back into the community. So Joe, we'll start with you. What is the meaningfulness for you to be able to be in this position and serve alumni?
For many years, I have 4 children, married to a woman I met at Penn State as a student. And so raising 4 kids didn't leave me personally a lot of time to do volunteer work. But I did retire a few years ago from Mack Trucks, where I had a career for 38 years in human resources. And I knew once I retired, I need to find something to engage and to reason to get up in the morning. And I thought volunteering would be key. And because of my love for Penn State, and my wife's also a grad, I have a son that's a grad, I felt that volunteering with the local chapter would be a great way to give back, if you will, and hopefully to get others engaged. So that's kind of my primary focus in volunteering. I volunteer in some other areas, American Cancer Society and a few others, but volunteering has been the key, and Penn State's always been one of my loves. So I figured out what a great way to get involved and to work with the local chapter and engage with other alums and friends at Penn State.
Well, we're glad to have you, Joe. And before we kick it over to Michael and ask him the same question, Joe has been with the chapter, I believe, for about a dozen years. He's been the chapter president since 2022. So recent president, but longtime volunteer leader. Michael, how about the same question for you? What's the personal significance to be a board member for the chapter?
Well, I met Joe through the Cancer Society, and he asked me to come on and volunteer. Probably my volunteer career, if I could use that for lack of a better term, started actually at Penn State. When I went to the Capital College in Harrisburg my junior year, I had asked to become. Took interest in getting involved in student government out there, and I was on the student government board. And then my senior year, I actually became the vice president of the campus. And there were a few clubs that I got to know the members very well, and it gave me a real flavor and taste of what volunteering was about. I went to grad school, and the volunteer opportunities kind of fizzled a little bit. But when I got out of grad school and got my first job, I started volunteering to a limited capacity in the Valley. And I'm a little bit younger than Joe, but I'm very close to retirement. I'm planning actually on retiring and getting more involved. So this represents a really great opportunity to get back. I mentioned the American Cancer Society. Along with Joe, I'm on the Penn State team that does some fundraising for the Strides for Breast Cancer. Joe and I just retired from one of their boards. So we were able to connect the two organizations. We get a really good alumni turnout at that event. We probably have 20 to 30 people just on the Penn State team. I believe we raised about $1,800 last year, which was significantly more than we did the year before. I'm sure we're going to have a stretch goal this year. But, just getting that exposure at Penn State Capitol was really the beginning where I kind of planted my roots. And, I just glad I had an opportunity to make a difference in, people's lives and in this area. My daughter is an alumni. Just became an alumni. So she comes out with me once in a while to these events. So hopefully I can pass the torch to her in some respect. Like I know Joe's done that with his son. I know his son does a lot of volunteer work. So she's busy studying for her boards, but I'm sure I can get her out to more events. And, she can look back and say, my dad helped me kickstart my career in volunteering. So.
Is that Caitlin?
That's Caitlin. Yeah.
So Caitlin graduated from Penn State Schuylkill last year. So congratulations to Caitlin on becoming a Penn State alumna, a gratis member of the Penn State Alumni Association for the first year. Hopefully she finds some value in the local chapter, Michael, and we can bring her on board full time, which sounds like that might be something. You are tuned into the Football Letter podcast. We are speaking with our volunteer leaders from the Lehigh Valley chapter. If you are watching on YouTube, you are seeing photos from chapter events year round and the wide array of opportunities that the Lehigh Valley chapter provides for local alumni. Michael, the opportunity or the ability to stay connected to Penn State through an alumni association chapter, what's the significance of that for you to be able to keep that Penn State connection going?
Well, I think it's really, a wonderful opportunity for me to connect with alumni. We have a lot of stories to share, and a lot of events to do, as you see, that are going up on the screen. I mean, the one event we did where we clean up around the campus. So there's a couple miles of roadway that the campus. We now have the roadway signs on. Here we are at the food bank. It's just really neat to connect and do different events and meet other alumni and share your stories and try to get people involved. I know we just had a recent event at one of the local steakhouses, and the owner's son is a Penn State alumni. And it was in the event that we had there, he actually became interested and wants to join our organization. So I think through that connection, the fact that there's a real true affinity with Penn State and the alumni. The school and the alumni after people graduate. So that's just one example where we had someone the gentleman was in his mid-30s and he wanted to get back involved. We've met a number of alumni who've done that. There's a local microbrewery, Weyerbacher. The gentleman that owns that has really helped us out in our events. Joe and I think we made the initial contact. We had a tailgate at his establishment. I think we've had 2 or 3 over the past 2 or 3 years. When Jay Paterno came, we contacted him and just let him know about the event. He actually donated 5 cases of beer and some other things for us. So it feels people can get involved in that example and not necessarily have to attend the event. We have a number of committees. That's how I first started. People can actually get their feet wet by just getting on a committee, getting involved. If they don't like it, they can maybe move on to another committee. We don't ask, we don't have to attend all our events. You can maybe attend 1 or 2 for a volunteer, maybe go to 1 or 2 football games. So there's a lot of flexibility for our volunteers, and we're always welcoming new ideas. I'm sure Joe's going to talk about how we've reached out. We have a recruiter who actually can help people network and with jobs. One of the pictures, I'll let Joe speak to that a little bit more, but that's one of the avenues that we're venturing into. That we're trying to connect with alumni and help them with their career. I met a few people who were between jobs. One gentleman unfortunately, it was just due to a downsizing. He came to our event. At the end of the event, when I talked to him, he said he got some very valuable information. So it wasn't just our recruiter that was there. We were able to get 3, I'll say managers from local companies who were able to talk about their experience. So that allowed the opportunity for alumni to who maybe were interested in changing jobs or maybe looking for a new job, maybe due to an unfortunate event, to connect with local employers in the area.
And how important is that, Joe, to provide those career opportunities for Penn State? We're the largest alumni network in the world. And when we say that, it means something. How important is it to provide those career opportunities?
Yeah. Well, it's interesting you brought that up, John, because after the event Michael just talked, we had the throes of putting together a committee with the recruiter and the lady that does professional career development. That's her career. Working with her and a few other volunteers, we want to put together a committee just for that. We'll call it the Career Development Committee, possibly, and to see how we can engage our members and help them along in their careers. One of the things we're always trying to do, and it's not easy, is to get the young alums engaged. Understandable, knowing that they've got their careers just starting or mid-career, they have families to raise, etc. But it is a challenge. But through this career development opportunity, we think maybe we can bring in some more folks and get them engaged and help them along their careers with this type of a committee. So we think it is that important that we're trying to put a committee together now.
And Joe, let's follow up on kind of the original question in terms of the personal significance for you to be able, not just to volunteer, but you can stay connected to Penn State through an affiliate group. Why is it significant for you to keep that Penn State connection strong?
Again, I'm such a believer in the Penn State and the education that they provided me and my wife and my son that I just want to stay engaged and work with the alums. And one of the things we want to do is try and get more membership in the Alumni Association, because realistically, we don't charge dues anymore. There was a few years ago, they changed the whole model, and our income is based on the number of Penn State Alumni Association members in our region, in our area. So it is critical that we promote the Alumni Association for reasons that there's value there. As an example, you go out to the newsletter from the Alumni Association, and they have all these different webinars on different topics. Some of it's career development, could be many different areas. And I think that's critical too. So there is a great resource with the Alumni Association, and we're just trying to play that up. And obviously it helps us from an income standpoint. The more folks that sign up and become members, it keeps us alive and vibrant.
That's a great point, Joe. And to follow up on what Joe was referencing, so a few years ago, the Alumni Association changed our membership model. It's a one membership. And so when you become a member of the Alumni Association, you're automatically a part of every one of our affiliate groups. So if you live in Texas and you move to the Lehigh Valley area and you're already an Alumni Association member, you're already a member of the Lehigh Valley chapter. We've got about 5,000 Alumni Association members in that area that you had mentioned, Joe. Guys, we are more than 20 minutes into this conversation, and I'm not sure we've really talked about football all that much on the Football Letter podcast. And so, Michael, maybe we can start talking about, the watch parties and the social committees. When it's game day in Lehigh Valley and all season long, how do you, engage local alumni and keep them connected through Penn State football?
Well, the events that we have are one of the means or the vehicles that we do that. And again, we communicate that through our newsletters. The newsletter does come out, I believe twice a month. Sometimes Diane will send it out if it's a big game. And let's just say that we do have signups to get an estimate. We do as a courtesy to the venue holder, which is usually a local restaurant or sports bar, to give them an estimate so they can set the area up appropriately. But just getting the word out. We do have other outlets. I believe there's a Facebook page that we use. We're starting to explore LinkedIn, although I don't know if we would necessarily use that LinkedIn for football. But just getting the word out and getting people interested to come in, and then if I'm hosting, we have a number of individuals on the board in our committee who host the various events. So they go out and they get it all set up. One of the things we have been doing recently to try to encourage people to come out is we'll buy maybe a round of appetizers we'll spend $50 and maybe have tacos or something or nachos for people to come out. And I think people think that's a nice, we can't obviously be the entertainment budget for people there. And the establishments understand that everybody's pretty much on their own. I think doing that, a nice little perk really has helped. And when I'm hosting, I go around and introduce myself. I ask people if they're interested in joining. We have a little table set up. Joe or I or one of the other board members is usually there before the game starts. People can come up. People that are new can ask questions. I know Joe's going out of his way to, someone who doesn't look familiar we'll actually try to sell what we're doing. And a lot of times it does spark some interest. People, we have a little picture that people could scan with their phone. I think it's a barcode, and then they could just fill their information right on the phone, and then they'll start getting the newsletter, and then they can start coming to our events. So, I think that's a big positive for us. And just watching the game and just usually we win, and it really creates a lot of excitement. It really does. So, and obviously the establishments like that because it's a draw for them. If it's 2 or 3 o'clock on a Saturday afternoon, they're not going to have a lot of people there. Well, then 20 people from Penn State show up, and they're very courteous. We usually have a dedicated waiter or waitress to help us out. So that's been one of the things for the establishments we go back to. That's really helped us. The fact that we know that if we meet a certain threshold, we'll have the staff there to support us. We don't want to be waiting 20, 30 minutes in between for someone to come back to the table. So I think that's a big positive too. That's a big positive. One of the local bars called the Thirsty Turtle. Now this isn't set in stone. They're actually thinking about maybe having for a big game out in their parking lot before the game, like a Penn State tailgate out there. I don't know if they have to get some things approved for the local township, but that was just one idea when I went out and talked to this gentleman about having one of our tailgates there. He said that would be, obviously that's a big draw for them, but they could draw more people because they could advertise that event too. So that's just, another example of how, we could meet more people if that's successful and bring them into our organization and get more volunteers, more ideas, maybe more committees set up. So I think it would have a chain effect, a positive chain effect.
The other thing, Mike mentioned this, I think, earlier in the broadcast, was that we do provide access to bus trips to all the home games. There's a gentleman named Bob Worrell. He's been running bus trips out of the Whitehall area for many years, and he always says, if you have the tickets, we'll give you the transportation up to all the home games. And he usually fills at least one bus for every game. So we make sure that in our newsletter, the Penn State alums, friends of Penn State, know that if you have tickets, you can get a ride through Bob and have an easy way up, easy way down, especially during the whiteouts that start at 8 o'clock at night.
So how can folks learn about that? Is it go to the chapter website, go to your social media pages?
Combination of all that. Certainly the newsletter coming out every couple of weeks. It's always, during football season. It's always in there prior to football season. We mention it during the summer because some of these buses fill up pretty quick. I think the blue-white game with Oregon this year, that bus is already filled and there's a waiting list. So that's kind of, but we get the word out through that and through the social media, the Facebook, Instagrams, etc. And so, that's working well. I don't know how many of our members actually take the bus. I know I've done it a couple times on the night whiteouts, and it's a great way to go if you don't have a place to stay in State College.
I think a few of our board members do, so they're, it's definitely working.
Yeah.
So go to the Lehigh Valley chapter website. You can see here, lvchapterpsaa.org. You can sign up for the chapter's newsletter, stay updated on the watch parties, on the bus trips. What got you interested in Penn State as a first place? We'll start with you, Joe. What got you to Penn State as a student?
Yep. Well, starting out, when I graduated from high school, I did not immediately say I'm going to college. I was thinking, maybe I will, maybe I won't. So I took some time. My dad worked at a place called Armstrong flooring and ceiling business. They had their headquarters in Lancaster, where I'm from, and they had a big production plant. So I said, well, let me just see how a production job goes. And I did that for about a few months, and I quickly figured out, I don't want to be doing this. And then I started talking to some friends that have gone to Penn State. They started like in the summer term when we graduated from high school. And they said, yeah, Penn State's a great place. One of the things I thought about at Penn State was it's very large, but it has all of the different, courses, curriculums that you would want. So that if you go into one area and you find out, well, maybe that's not what I want, you can stay within the Penn State University and switch majors, if you will. So I found that very enticing to have that ability. And I basically didn't apply to many colleges. Once I set my sights on going to college and I heard from friends that Penn State's great, and they have the opportunity to switch majors. And I just fell in love with the idea, and I said, that's kind of where I want to go. And way back when I started, I got on the main, I started off cycle. I started in January, but I got on the main campus. So I was fortunate to be there all 4 years.
How about you, Mike?
Okay. Unfortunately, like Joe, I didn't get accepted to the main campus, but I got accepted to a couple satellite campuses. And actually, coming from a smaller high school, Catholic high school, the Allentown campus had a lot of things going for it. I seemed to excel a little bit better as a student in a smaller, campus setting. Our largest class was 80 people. It was our econ class. There were a number of activities we could do on the campus. I believe it was Professor Young. He was our physical education teacher. We could go camping. We had archery. There was a ski club that was formed. I joined a volleyball team for Penn State. It's just when the campuses were starting to play each other in intramural or inter-campus sports. So, I didn't know that at the time when I applied, but once I had no buyer's remorse when I went to the Allentown campus, and I'm glad I stayed there for 2 years. And that actually led to a lot of my decision to go to the Capital College, because it had a good business program and it was a smaller campus environment. There were a few friends that I had that I met at the Allentown campus, or now Lehigh Valley, and we decided to go out to the Capital College. So that small campus environment, but again, to Joe's point, a variety of courses. There were a number of majors that I was interested in. I started out in business. I stayed in business, but I could have switched over to public policy or some of the other topics that might have interested me. And even within business, there was marketing, management. There was a variety. It wasn't just you didn't just come out with a general business major. My sister was only a year and a half behind me, so our family had that financial consideration. So that is what really attracted me to Penn State, was the quality of education and the flexibility of having a small campus atmosphere.
The other thing that I liked when I got there as a freshman is the first year back in 1968 when I was there was they basically told you, hang on, we want you to try some other courses. Don't worry about your business courses your freshman year. Try some other things, especially if you're not sure of what you want to do. So they gave you an opportunity to really try different things, different courses. Even though I might have thought business was for me, I got into a lot of other things, sciences, etc. And basically after the first year, I did find out, I think business is the road I want to go down. And then starting my sophomore year, you really start focusing in on your major. But I like the idea that freshman year, you get a wide scope of opportunities to find out really what you want to do.
You are tuned into the Football Letter podcast. We are speaking with Joe Huxta, president of the Lehigh Valley chapter, and Mike Turk, board member of the Lehigh Valley chapter. Penn State connections and roots run deep for these two. We're going to be respectful of your time. We do have a couple more questions because, Mike, what you said was going to lead me into what I was going to ask you next, and we'll start with you, Mike. How have you seen the value of a Penn State degree hold up and serve you well in your career?
Well, it really helped me get into grad school to start out. When I was interviewing, I went right from undergraduate into grad school. And even though I was actually advised by my professors at the Capital College to choose a school other than Penn State. And coming with that Penn State degree, and I had a B+, A- average. That really helped. So it was the school in grad schools, some of my classes that I had taken, I didn't have to take any prerequisites. And when I was interviewing, for my first job, there was a lot, again, that was alumni connection. There were several companies in the Valley that I interviewed with, and the person was a Penn State grad, or they maybe had a child that was at Penn State, or maybe a sibling at Penn State, or their best friend went to Penn State. So just that connection there when you go into a job interview, it really broke the ice, and you had a lot of common ground. Obviously, I was hoping I was getting the job based on my skill set, but still to have that connectivity and that affinity with the person who, may be your future manager, assuming you get a job offer. Penn State really goes a long way. You get a very good education. I did work on the campus, and that, helped me. I worked in the bookstore, and actually I worked in maintenance for 1 year, and just developing those skill sets, learning, how to work hard. I mean, they don't translate into what I do now, but it was a really, really, really a good foundation. So Penn State helped, along with the education, and a lot of my early work experience was at Penn State. At Alumni, I worked in the library, and at the Capitol College, I worked with the reference librarian. So that really helped out a lot. And it taught you work, some kind of balance, between work and your college life, which translate into what I think, when I manage people, a work-family life balance. So I learned a lot from that you have to, you have to be flexible with during your work career with your peers, and if you have staff, to realize that. And that taught me a lot at Penn State. So those early beginnings I'm very grateful for.
How about you, Joe?
Well, I majored in accounting, as I mentioned earlier. And as I was going through my 4 years in my senior year, I wanted to basically, I said, let's try the public accounting route. And back in the early 70s, there were basically 8 major public accounting firms. And basically, I think because it was Penn State and are well known, especially in the business world, I basically, anyone I wanted to get an interview with, pretty much the large ones, Ernst & Ernst, Price Waterhouse, a few others, it opened a door. So I got the interviews, and I got a chance to talk to the different big 8 firms, and it worked out really well as a starting point, if you will, for my career in public accounting. So I think Penn State had a lot to do with just the fact it's name recognition, and they had a good recognition in their business and accounting world too.
Before we get to the last question, was there anything else about, the chapter that you guys wanted to share that I haven't asked about?
The other thing would just be fundraising. We always do fundraising every year. I think in November of 2024, once a year, we basically do an annual scholarship contribution, and we've been doing that annually for years. And I think in November of 24, we made a $7,500 donation to one of our scholarships. We actually have a couple endowed scholarship funds. So again, scholarships mentioned is one of those 3 S's is scholarships. And we do what we can to, raise money, fundraise for scholarships. So again, we do that every year. And we have a couple endowed scholarships. So that's probably the other thing I just wanted to mention, that we do the scholarships. That's one of our key mission points.
So Michael, when you're watching Penn State football this season, what are you going to have your eye on during the games?
Well, I'm hoping that Penn State will really can take it to Michigan State and Ohio State in the future. I don't have the schedule right in front of me, and win the big games. That's what I'm really looking forward to, because I know this would be the year, in my opinion, that a national championship is within their grasps. So that's what I'm really looking forward to. Coming through in the big games, they have the coaching staff, they have the players, and I know they have a good routine, and I think they could get it done this year. So that's my hope. I know I'll be up for 1 or 2 games, and maybe I'll be at one of the big ones, and I can see it in person instead of with a cat on my lap in my living room. So.
All right, Joe, take us or close us out for the interview. What are you going to have your eye on this football season?
Well, I think we have the 2 best running backs in the country to start with. So that's a great plus. Plenty of talent, a lot of recruits that can win a championship. For me personally, I think the key to a national title this year and a great season is going to be our quarterback. Drew Aller he doesn't have to have a great year, but he needs to be consistent. And in the big games, he needs to come up big in the big games. Doesn't have to throw 100, he just needs to not make the mistakes and have a good games against the best teams. If we can do that, I think we have a great shot of taking it all the way.
You have been tuned into the Football Letter podcast. Joe Huxta, Michael Turk, thank you so much for the time, the expertise, the insight. Thank you for everything that you do for Penn State and the Alumni Association. Also, just wanted to say before we close out, we're also thinking of Lehigh Valley chapter board member Julie DeGroot, and just thinking of Julie and her family and wishing her all the best. And so, Joe and Mike, thank you for everything. We're wishing you all the best this season. And if you guys get up to campus for a game, let me know. We'll have to run into each other and catch up and say hi.
Sure.
That'd be awesome.
Definitely.
And thanks, John,
this
for having
wonderful
us.
opportunity.
Thank you
Yeah,
so much.
absolutely.
We appreciate
Anytime,
it.
guys.
Take care.